Take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there? Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
What's up, guys? So I'm gonna keep this one short because I'm a little bit short on time today. And I don't have that much to say about this subject. There's a lot going on right now. I know I've been covering some more drama-oriented stuff here lately, but there is a lot of stuff going on, and it's a delicate balance. You know, I have to talk about the subjects that are going to reach people and talk about the subjects that are most important to talk about. Definitely can't wait to get to a point where I can talk about the things I'm most interested in and think are the most important and reach the same amount of people as when I talk about more, you know, YouTuber oriented drama. But there's a reality to the fact that talking about people, figures that audiences are already familiar with is a way to reach broader audiences that aren't as familiar with me yet. So there's a method to the madness. To my commenter who keeps asking that I cover Zohran Mamdani in New York, the mayoral candidate in New York, I will. Don't worry. You can keep commenting, spamming if you want. It's a little annoying, but I appreciate the engagement. But yes, I will cover Zohran. I think he's running a great campaign. There's stuff to talk about there, but we do have some time before the NYC primary, okay? So it's all right. Don't beat me up yet. Don't come to my house. You can come to my house, but only if you bring me something nice. I will cover Zohran Mamdani. But in general, what's been on my mind is just this rising tide of fascism that we're seeing. It's becoming more and more palpable. The AI stuff has been bothering me a little bit. You know, there's I guess the newest version of ChatGPT has some pretty impressive capabilities. It's learning how to do text accurately. I haven't played with it. I don't plan to play with it, so I don't know how much effort it takes to actually get it to spit out something recognizable. Probably considerable. But the fact that ChatGPT is able to effectively render text into images is definitely concerning, because aside from the fact that a lot of people are going to use that instead of resorting to human labor, it's also just straight up propaganda. It's just a way to push a button and just print propaganda. And I don't know, man. I don't know why anyone would make a machine that can do that. I don't know what justification you could possibly come up with in your mind that it's a good thing for everyone to have access to just the ability to create infinite propaganda. For anybody to be able to create propaganda at no cost with no time restraints. You know, even the most top tier Hollywood producers or the evil cabal of people that runs the media, even they don't have the ability historically to just instantaneously create propaganda out of thin air. And so, I mean, there really is something to be said for the fact that's a fundamental transformation of humans' interaction with information. And we are not in an environment where our government is prepared to regulate that technology at all. So, I mean, we're just going to be raw dogging it. Whatever it is that AI is going to do in society, to society, for society, we are just going to get walloped by it. And I don't think that there's any coincidence that these things are accelerating at the same time. Somebody said that AI art is the official art style of 21st century fascism. And I think that's beyond accurate. And I think as many of us as possible should really internalize that the recognizable AI aesthetics that we see, to the extent that it is recognizable, usually it is, sometimes it's not, but there are very recognizable aesthetics that come along with AI, the sort of like weird chic that some of it has, that sort of uncanny ultra realism that doesn't quite, it's like, you know, photorealistic in every way, except it just doesn't quite sit right. Or the certain aesthetics that come from the more hand-drawn styles of AI, you know, stolen from hand-drawn artists, really. But whatever it is, AI is the tool of the 21st century fascist and propagandist. And we should recognize that with as much clarity as we can, because I do think there's at least going to be an enormous wave throughout our culture, probably laundered through platforms like Facebook. Definitely Facebook already is just abound with slop. Twitter as well is going to only get worse because it's also integrated with this type of AI stuff. They all are now. There's full integration pretty much of every social media, every corner of the internet is connected to this infinite generation of AI. I don't know what these guys think they're doing, but we'll see what happens with YouTube. I don't see that much AI stuff on YouTube. I'm sure there's some, and it seems like it's inevitable that it will start to creep in. But the fact that YouTube has not become overrun with AI already seems like there might be some resistance to that. Maybe not on like moral or ethical grounds, but just people, for some reason, they don't seem to want to integrate YouTube with AI, which makes me hopeful for now. We'll see. But in general, I think, you know, we've got to be very clear-minded about this form of fascism that we're seeing. People, students, and professors are being pulled off the streets, ostensibly to be deported. And this is not that different from Trump's first term either. It's accelerated a lot faster, but if you recall, in 2020, when the BLM protests were happening, especially in Portland, the same sort of thing was happening where unmarked officers in unmarked vehicles were just pulling up and grabbing people off the street. And so this is the method of policing that Trump likes his federal agents to do. He doesn't feel that they need to announce themselves. They essentially, there's no rules. They don't have to respect anybody's rights. They don't have to read anybody their rights. They don't have to put anybody through any kind of due process. They don't have to explain anything to you. And in the case of at least a couple people, they don't even really need any real justification to deport you. If they get you into their custody and nothing stops them from delivering you to some deportation flight or whatever, then you might just go. So who knows how many people that's going to happen to and how many people are going to slip through the cracks. But let's be very realistic about the fact that, like, this is 100% fascism. This is how it works every single time. And specifically, they go after the students, they go after the professors, they go after protesters. And not only do they want to get those people out of the country, but they also want to create a chilling effect on those type of activities in general. So let's remember that this is America, and regardless of what these fascists do, we have our right to free speech and assembly and protest and religion. And we do not have to obey in advance or even in retrospect. We don't have to obey these people at all. And there are at least a couple cases of ICE or other, vague federal agents trying to arrest people and being interrupted simply by a good Samaritan or colleague of the person that they were harassing, and that effectively stopped the arrest. The reason why is, again, like I said, these guys are not operating under any law. So the more people are involved, the more people get involved to try to stop up what's happening, the less ability they have to push forward. The only way they have the ability to operate with impunity is if they can move quickly without too many questions being asked. But then once they get somebody in their custody, questions from lawyers or people trying to slow the process down, even that doesn't seem to be that effective. People like Mahmoud Khalil and these other student protesters, their lawyers are not able to get in touch with them, at least not quickly, and their efforts to do so or to get court hearings for these people that are arrested are at least not going smoothly. So in some cases, these court hearings will happen, in some cases they won't, and people will be deported. But it's important for all of us to remember that, we don't have to let this happen, certainly not in front of our eyes. And if you see something like this going down, you should intervene. You should. You should. It depends on who you are and how vulnerable you are as a person. But if you're a citizen of this nation, if you're a white person in this nation, and you see somebody being harassed by ICE, or certainly somebody who looks like some kind of unmarked officer, or you see one of these weird covert arrests happening like they did with this female student from Colombia, intervene. Do whatever you can to intervene. Put yourself in between them and their target. We are absolutely at that point where it's that urgent. And one theory that I just want to throw out there before I wrap this one up, because I just wanted to touch on a few of these things. Not sure if that many people will see this video, but I've been wanting to talk about this stuff. And what I think we all need to agree to do is to call these guys being everybody from Trump to Elon to every single one of these ICE agents, to wannabe ICE agents, people who are supportive of Trump, people who are tepidly supportive of Trump or fervently supportive of Trump. What they are is Groypers. They're Groypers. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, it is essentially the Nick Fuentes, Richard Spencer brand of alt-right extremism, where it's specifically aimed at using memes and jokes to launder right-wing fascism and Nazism into mainstream America. So it's essentially a political strategy that by gathering and organizing on 4chan, you can create cultural assets, memes, jokes, and strategies that you can disseminate to the broader culture basically through the internet. And this has been going on for a long time. Since before Trump first won in 2016, you had these types of people kind of working behind the scenes, whether it's posting memes, racist memes, because they think it's funny, or because they genuinely think there's some kind of political uprising happening. They've existed since before Trump. I don't know exactly when they started calling themselves Groypers, but Groyper is essentially the word for somebody who is trying to launder fascism, unapologetic fascism, through innocuous-looking memes and silly drawings and social media accounts and that sort of thing. And the reason that I think we should just call the entire Trump movement Groypers. I think it's also appropriate to call them Nazis, frankly. Nazis seems to me to be the one thing that they still really don't want you to say about them. Even with Elon going on stage and doing the fucking salute and all of this very blatant gesturing towards Nazism and directly mirroring the exact policy of Nazi Germany, they still don't want you to call them Nazis. And so I think that's what we should do. We should just get in the habit of calling them that. But the only problem with it is that it's not current, right? And the most effective reputation of that is that the Nazis were a very specific movement, political movement that called themselves Nazis in Germany. So I do still think it's worth using against them because it's so effective. And calling them fascists, while it's 100% accurate and in some cases is effective, I don't think it is as effective as calling them Nazis. And when you have Elon Musk doing these salutes on stage and stuff like that, and you can put that in front of people and put these arrests that are happening because of ICE in front of people, it makes it harder and harder to deny that what we are seeing is akin to Nazism. However, I think if we do have an interest in updating the lexicon, the best word is Groypers. They're Groypers. That's what they are. It defines the movement. Elon's behavior with Twitter is 100% Groyper. He has thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe. I don't even know how many of them there are on the planet because a lot of the activity is fake and like botted. But there are definitely thousands and thousands of Groypers in Elon's Twitter timeline, in his mention, and in his network that he engages with on Twitter and was since before he bought it. So this is the Groyper movement. That's what we're seeing. And even Project 2025 is infested with this type of thought process. It's one and the same. And so there are aspects of the Republican Party that do not come from this sort of Groyper mindset. All of them are complicit. At this point, the entire movement is essentially aligned with Nick Fuentes. Even though Nick Fuentes says, I don't like Trump anymore. I don't know why. He just says a lot of dumb shit. He's not a particularly smart person. But the movement that he was trying to create and has tried to build has manifested itself in Donald Trump both times around, but especially this time. And the reason I think we should stick that name Groypers on them is because it is an objectively disgusting word. It's repulsive. It's accurate. And I think that if we utilize it effectively, it can have the same stamp on the Trump movement that the word Nazi now has on any political movement that it is applied to. In other words, at some point, the Trump movement is going to be said and done. I don't know how this shit's going to play out. I don't know if Trump's family is going to rule America for hundreds of years. Maybe this is going to end in disaster for Donald Trump, and he's going to get torn apart in the streets like many dictators have. Maybe he's just going to get off scot-free, and then things are going to kind of I don't want to say go back to normal, because that's never going to happen, but my point is, I don't know what's going to happen after this Trump term or in the future based on what Trump's going to do. But I have a feeling that at some point, pretty much all fascist regimes become the shame of the people who supported it at the time. Nazis were executed over it. And in the case of Nazi Germany, it has been the shame of Germans for the last 100 years. And that shame, more so than Nazism, that shame has been what has defined the way they've organized their society, like with anti-Nazism laws, etc. And so if we have any hope of reclaiming society from this type of Nazism, this resurgence of neo-Nazism that we're seeing, I think it is on putting the stamp of Groyper on them, because that is what I think history should remember them as. And when the Trump movement is all said and done, under whatever conditions that may be, I think Groypers is not only the most accurate way for them to be remembered, but it stings the most. And we need to find the label for them that stings the most. And I think, again, Nazi is a great contender, but Groyper is more accurate. It's just an objectively disgusting phrase. And I think we should use it to discredit the movement as much as we can, because especially as the result of Trump's policies becomes worse and worse, people are going to start being more open-minded towards blatant criticisms of the Trump administration and his movement. And so the more we have the phraseology in place that people can start to turn on the movement or become animated against the movement, you know, having the label already there that people can say, I used to be that, but I'm not anymore. And now I'm against that. And now I'm ashamed that I ever was that. The more readily we can supply those labels and those rhetorical tactics, the more people will catch on, especially as things get worse. And before I go, I guess I'll give you guys a little piece of advice that somebody gave to me that I thought was really good advice, because I've been, you know, I guess a little depressed lately. Nothing too bad, but just, you know, trying to stay positive and continue to imagine a positive future for myself, despite the fact that we are all going to have to fight to survive in one way or another, probably before too long. But someone told me, we were talking about like faith in God and that sort of thing, and someone gave me the advice to have faith in the positive things that I see around me. And I thought that was profound, because there are positive things that I see around me, and there are probably positive things that you see around you as well. And while it's easy to have more faith in all of the horrifying negative things that we see around us, maybe the best way to survive, other than fighting like hell, is to have real faith in the things we see around us that have promise, and keep our attention there.